welcome to the Louie File. Have you ever been in a situation in your life where it seemed like all you could hear was accusation, condemnation? The Bible calls that the enemy. That's the voice of the enemy. You know, Jesus said in John chapter 10 that He's the good shepherd and His sheep hear His voice and they won't follow a stranger. But you know, He doesn't specifically say we won't hear the stranger. He just says that we will not follow the stranger. So sometimes in your life you might be in a position to where it seems like all you're hearing is the stranger or the enemy, and it's difficult or almost impossible to hear the shepherd. What do you do, and what causes that, and how do you react to that? Well, one thought I had was the enemy gets louder. One person might say because you're living in sin, and that's why you seem to be far from the shepherd. But maybe there's another answer. Maybe it's because you're involved in something that the Bible describes or defines as interceding. Maybe God is using you to intercede, be an intercessor on behalf of someone else or some situation that you're around. You know, if you look at the cross is the ultimate picture and example of intercession. I don't think anybody would argue about that. Jesus, the sinless man, hanging on a cross as a sinner in place of the sinful world. What was taking place there? You know, I looked in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and three things stood out to me. Well, excuse me while I get my paper. One, in Matthew, it's in Matthew 27, 40 through 46. Now there's a lot of things being said there, but I just want to bring out a couple little points. That while Jesus was in the middle of the greatest intercession ever, He only heard the enemy Himself. We don't have any real record of God really speaking in those exact moments, but we have a lot of accusations hurled at Him. In Matthew 27, 40 through 46, they said to Jesus, "Why don't you come down from there? Why don't you save yourself and then save us?" Basically, they're mocking Jesus and saying, if you're the Son of God, then do something about it. Why is this happening to you? Wow, that's pretty rough. And then I looked into Mark 14, 55 through 59. In Mark it says that the religious leaders, the people that were trying to crucify Jesus, were actually looking for testimony against Him. And they couldn't really find it. There was not really any sin that they could point at. So they actually got people to lie. So this made me think, you know, sometimes the voice of the enemy is multiplied. It's not just one person that is accusing or threatening to you, but they heap other people with them. They get a group to come. Even if they have no real evidence of anything, they will accuse you. They will make up stuff in the midst of your intercession for those very people. You know, Jesus cried out to God that He would forgive them because they didn't know what they were doing. The very ones accusing Him, He cried out for them, on behalf of them. Amazing. But the voice of the enemy was what He was hearing. So then, in my last example, in Luke 23, 35 through 41, you see the story where the two thieves, the thief on each side of Jesus that were crucified at the same time, one of them started to realize and see the truth, and he said to the other one, you can't be ragging him out. He said, we deserve what we're getting here, but this man has done nothing. So he saw that Jesus was guiltless, He was blameless, He was sinless, and he was telling the other thief, leave him alone. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So they even they accused Him when He had done nothing. You know, if you feel right now, or at some point in your life, that you have done nothing to deserve the pain and the accusation and the betrayal that you're going through, you're in good company. Jesus Christ hanging on the cross, the greatest time in His life, when He needed to hear the comfort of His Father, we have no real record of it. All He kept hearing was the voice of the accuser, but this was part of His great intercession, His great moment, His greatest moment. The world looked at as defeat was the greatest victory ever. So if you're going through something at work or with your family that seems unfair, it may be unfair, but it just may be that God is working through you on behalf of those very people. And the way you respond is that you just absorb it. There comes a place in time when you have to absorb things. Jesus went like a sheep to slaughter, and he didn't revile back when he was reviled, but he kept entrusting himself to the one who judges righteously, who is the Father. Tough today, tough message today, but I hope it helps you, and I hope it brings you encouragement to just hang tough during the intercession, because after the crucifixion, the resurrection came. So that's what we look forward to. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.